going to take questions until the chairman wants us to stop. I would just want to say that I would actually agree with that point. My observation of the kids who left Buddhism, that left Judaism for Buddhism, 90% of the, say, read something along these lines. Because they're searching for something more. They're searching for something they're not quite finding. And on some level, Judaism makes a mistake, whether my works or other modes, not embracing the whole group, a very dynamic group, seeking truth, willing to sacrifice, and it's frankly chaval. Anyway, that being said.
Without getting into the philosophy, when you started this quest, did you have any idea where it would lead? Did you have any idea of the size of the spectrum?
No, I just had a couple of questions, frankly. I just had two questions, one or two questions. And my main question was, is classic Judaism compatible? This breakdown from the Holocaust. Does classic Judaism survive the Holocaust? That's question number one. And then question number two was, which I alluded to, I actually, as a youngster, had astronomy as a hobby. You know, I had the books, etc. at home. And astronomy has the same problem, where the universe comes from, as classic religion has, in parallel, Lahavdil, where did the eternal God come from? So I'm in yeshiva, you know, with one or two problems, theogony and theodicy, and at home, because I didn't study astronomy in school, which was eternal origins of the cosmos. So I didn't know where it would lead. And, but I did feel that, I felt actually quite strongly that if you really solved any one of these, you'd solve all of them. That I did feel in my gut. Well, two things in my gut. One, that the solution was very subtle, and that was frankly right in front of us. That's sort of hiding in plain sight. But you didn't have to go into ancient classic metaphysical texts, and you didn't have to advance community philosophy. In fact, the less you knew, the better, frankly. Keep it really simple. It's right, probably hiding in plain sight, the solution to all these problems. And if you found the solution, the test would be if it did indeed crack all these problems simultaneously. That was sort of my thinking. To answer your question. Let me take a new person, okay?
The question is, have you thought about expressing this concept in a mathematical formulation?
No, I'm not able to, but I wrote that there's a whole field of fractals, which I think, you know, if people so choose down the road, I think that will be an offshoot down the road. But I think that the people deal in fractals, which is iterations or repeating numbers, my gut tells me that it's identical to what I'm saying. Identical. But I don't know the field. My intuition is that it's identical. I have a 3-sentence paragraph in the book related to that. It's, again, beyond my level. They ask him.
Yes, one, please.
Okay.
And Lev, by the way, is a mathematician. So
Oh, good.
One last question on cosmogony.
Yeah. Louder, okay?
I wonder if you came across this. So the physics view certainly has this Big Bang singularity, the beginning of the universe.
Yeah, I don't think people hear you, but anyway, right.
But there is this critical density, that if the universe has higher density than this, it will eventually contract back to the singularity.
Some people say.
And re-explode. And the modern calculations are right around this number. To do certainly if it contracts and re-explodes, it kind of changes makes it from a single event into periodic event.
I've looked, frankly, I do follow that field very, very carefully, frankly.
Repeat the question.
His question, I think, is that some physicists, astrophysicists believe that the universe might implode upon itself, back upon itself. So I'm answering that I do track it very carefully. I tracked the field since I was 6 years old, the whole astrophysics field. And number one, it's some astrophysicists. So we both know it shifts year to year. 1 year yes, 1 year no. But let's take a worst case, that implodes back on itself. Even in the worst case, it can rebirth again. So, philosophical perspective, it doesn't bother me. And I don't think it's imploding into nothingness, from my perspective. But that's my perspective.
But certainly if it didn't, it has to have the possibility of doing that. Otherwise your theory would
It's
not
possible,
be...
it's probably possible.
Well, that...
The impossible might be ending the evening right now.
Well, are there any more questions? You know, one last thing. Marjorie and I were at a program, and 70% of all Buddhists in America are Jewish.
Wow.
An amazing number. 70% of all Buddhists in America are Jewish.
I'm not used to thinking metaphysically, but it seems to me that the word possibility, inherent in possibility,
As what?
inherent in possibility is conditionality and chance. It's very dynamic.
Everything possible.
Yeah, the word possibility is very dynamic. And the tension in that thing, speaking metaphysically, to equate possibility with its dynamism that's inherent in it with eternity, seems to me, again I'm speaking metaphysically, the tension would be too great for them to exist together. You spoke of this eternity, which was preconditioned by possibility, of existing for ions and eons.
Very simple,
and
very
eons.
simple, very simple. Possibility is a very, and so let's deal directly with this. This should be clear. Possibility, can possibility have always existed? Let me ask you that question. Is it possible that possibility always existed?
I don't know.
Okay. Is there anything more likely to have always existed than possibility?
I haven't thought about it enough to be able to.
Okay. Well, that's the point of my discussion. I have thought about it, and I don't think so. I don't think you can propose one concept or entity which you can say with more certitude than possibility to have always existed. That's why I wrote this book. Okay, because using that, the other themes works. So if you have another theme, tell us. Now, possibility means just that. It means possibly nothing happens, and possibly you have an extraordinary chairman like this happening a few billion years later. It means anything's possible. Anything's possible. And according to...
He was an extraordinary chairman immediately.
It's also...
It didn't take an eternity.
Right, and I coupled possibility with my second part of my 1-2 punch, which is extraordinariation. That it wasn't... Why do we end up with high-level Jewish young men studying Gemara and not just a million variations on slugs? Why do we end up with the extraordinary and not just with the regular? Why do we not end up with just survival? So according to my schema, there's a second tug on the equation, which I call extraordinariation. And possibility is vectoring towards extraordinariation. And you and I, with all our flaws, potentially, at least with our flaws, end up in the mix. It's not just possibility, it's not just potential. Because it would be all over the place. That it's heading towards extraordinariation. The religious Jew would call that messianic era. A scientist can call that brilliant scientific theories. A young lady can call that the perfect love. So in my schema, in volume 2, I introduced extraordinariation as pulling at the other end of the rope. That's my quick answer to your important question.
Is possibility the same as potential? You said it was a first cousin, but it
I think
seems...
possibility is a much simpler, neater concept.
I like the concept of potential because then I can understand energy, and that energy, as the doctor was saying, builds up such energy, and then you go right into the whole creation aspect.
My paradigm is called the quest for potential hypothesis. The name of it is quest for potential. With all due respect to my hypothesis, I think it's a little more complex than a simple term of possibility.
Any more questions or any more comments or any other theories? Yes.
This has just a riff on something David said earlier, and it's very unserious. It was the Middle English and the modern English with elephant. I was in a class once.
Same teacher.
And the teacher, tough teacher, very, very rough teacher. His name was Fate. Gave an exam, and when you took the exam, you had to write the instructor's name on the exam paper. One student, wasn't that bright, asked the guy next to him, how do you spell think?
Oh, God.
So the guy, he says, P-H-I-N-K. And the guy writes P-H-I-N-K. And Fink is a really rough guy. Comes the next class, Fink walks in with the papers. Where's so-and-so? Like, where's Callahan, you know? How do you spell Fink? P-H-I-N-Q. Look at you, dummy, spelled P-H-I-N-Q-U-E.
I want to thank, first of all, of course, David for being here. I want to thank Dan for being here.